This is Racehorse here on behalf of KPFT 90.1 Houston, Rick Izquierdo, and the Lone Star Jukebox. We have Congressman Beto O'Rourke on the phone with us. Thank you so much for taking some time to call us this morning. Where are you calling us from right now?
I'm calling you from Houston. Just finished breakfast at the hotel, and we're about to hit the road and continue to meet with those we want to represent.
Excellent. And so tell us first about the two events you have going on in Houston today. Tell us what those are, but from our show's perspective, like a Texas music show, we especially want to hear about the Música con Beto at the Last Concert Cafe.
Yeah, so quickly at 1 o'clock, we are opening our Houston office, and we're going to have a block party to celebrate that, and that's at 4112 Old Spanish Trail. And at 6 o'clock, we're going to have Música con Beto with La Excusa at the Last Concert Cafe on Nance Street. And like so many of our events, it's music, it's politics, it's folks getting to have a good time and coming together. And we welcome everyone, Republican, Democrat, Independent, non-voter alike, to come join us.
Okay. Have you ever been to Last Concert Cafe?
I don't think so.
You'll love it. You'll love it. Texas has like so many cool venues, like Green Hall, Continental Club, and new ones keep popping up. What's one of your favorite venues in Texas, or maybe you might have a few?
I got to be at the Cactus Theater in Lubbock last week, which is the stage that Buddy Holly played on. That was cool. Paramount Theater in Abilene, Texas Theater in Oak Cliff. There have been some Schultz's Garden in Austin. There's been some great places that we've had a chance to be at, and invariably with musicians. So that's been very cool. Got to meet Robert Earl Keen in Kerrville last weekend. Came out to our event there. There was a great band playing there. But in Pampa, we played in I spoke in a little library, and there was a great band. It was the Fossil River Band that was playing with us there. So just really some cool experiences across Texas so far.
Awesome. Well, we're taking note of all these bands you're mentioning. I mean, Robert Earl Keen we've had on our show. But let me move on to another question. You were at Willie's Picnic this year, and you came out and played with Margo Price and Ray Benson from Asleep at the Wheel and a bunch of others. Right. Did a medley of Will the Circle Be Unbroken and I'll Fly Away. And personally, like as an amateur musician, that would have been a religious experience for me to be on that stage. Right. Where did that rank in all your performances as a musician?
At the very top. I mean, it like you said, it was unreal. It was religious. It was spiritual to just be able to meet Willie, who I have been listening to for as long as I have memories, and I'm almost 46 years old, to get to meet his wife and his family, and then to be on stage with them. I just really could not believe that it was happening. And he is, as you probably know, just the most generous, the kindest man. And I was going to say that was something I'll never forget.
What did you guys talk about, if it's appropriate for radio?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. No, it totally is. So he and his wife Annie invited us, me and my wife Amy, on to their bus. And we really just talked about what's going on in the country right now. The kids who've been taken from their parents and still didn't know if they were going to ever see them again at the U.S.-Mexico border after, trying to claim asylum and leaving some of the deadliest places on the planet. We talked about the need for this country to come together. I shared with him some of my favorite, just Willie Nelson memories of songs that I listened to with my dad, or the Willie and Waylon cassette that was in my tape player in my first truck.
Nice.
As a teenager, and just that he's a big part of who I am, and I'm just a total fan. So I really just wanted to listen to him and just be with him, and so no, it was super cool. I feel very, very, very lucky to do it, and and he's just a great man.
Well, right now on the show, let's play a Willie song, and then we'll come back with Congressman Beto O'Rourke. Beto, do you have a preferred Willie song we think we should play? Take your pick.
Yeah. So this is probably not going to be appropriate, but I'm going to get drunk. Is that and Whiskey River are just, I think, for sentimental reasons, two of my all-time favorites.
Well, he plays both those at virtually all of his shows, so we're going to cut to that right now. Stay tuned, folks. This is Lone Star Jukebox with Congressman Beto O'Rourke. We'll be right back.
Don't let a memory torture me.
You're listening to the Lone Star Jukebox with special guest Beto O'Rourke, who is in Houston today, and we'll be doing a town hall or a block party at 1 o'clock and an event at the Last Concert Cafe, and we'll post all of that on our Facebook page. Congressman, right now I want to get to a topic. I went to your town hall in Huntsville, Texas, and you mentioned you were reading Our Band Could Be Your Life, and I almost fell out of my chair. And this book chronicles like all these indie groups from the 80s and 90s who created these scenes and made their mark on music history with zero assistance from, the usual powers that be in commercial music. And you talked about how you related to just their unconventional, fearless approaches of these bands. How has that spirit or attitude influenced your life journey? From Ivy League student to, a congressman to a Senate candidate.
Yeah, that book describes, a part of my life, bands and people that inspired me and that I wanted to emulate, and some of what we tried to do along the way. In fact, I'm traveling right now with a really good friend of mine, Mike Stevens, who was in a punk band that we started in the late 80s that ultimately, we'd start a label, we'd put out records, we'd book a tour, we'd write our songs and travel the country playing them. And those bands chronicled in This Band Could Be Your Life. Bands like the Minutemen or Black Flag or Minor Threat.
Minor Threat was my favorite chapter.
Yeah. I was ordering all those records out of the back pages of Maximum Rock and Roll, and they just changed my life because it was the first time I realized you don't have to take what's being sold to you. And in other words, the stuff coming in over the airwaves on the radio, I couldn't listen to your show where I was in El Paso. It was all commercial radio all the time. And it frankly just all sounded the same and didn't connect to my life. And all of a sudden, here were people not too much older than I was, writing their own songs, telling their own stories, and doing it in the most independent, creative, just the coolest way that I could have imagined in it. And it just totally got me. And as we run this campaign across Texas, traveling each of the 254 counties, we're all about people, and we're all about people all the time. So no corporations, no special interests. And much in the same way that punk was a response to some degree against corporate rock music, which had just corrupted the essence of, Buddy Holly on that stage at the Cactus Theater 60 plus years ago. This campaign of hope is a response to corporate politics and literally corporations and special interests and the national party bosses who kind of have been determining the songs that we hear and the tune that's sung. And I want Texas to be the answer to that. And the great news is that we are. I mean, just everywhere I go, really amazing people. Obviously in Houston and in every part of Houston, but in places like, San Angelo or Wichita Falls or Muleshoe or Childress, and only by showing up and learning stories from people that you want to represent and sharing your own, you make that connection. And to your question, it doesn't feel too unlike the way I felt, playing in a band. And there's no pretense, there's no corporation, there's no label. There's just you showing up and you sing your story, and you get to hear the other local bands sing theirs. And I think there's just something very, very powerful in that. And so we're going to try to continue to run this campaign in this way. And yes, absolutely. Those bands and our attempt to try to tour and play music like that influenced the way that we're running this campaign now.
Excellent. Well, KFT proudly can say that it can play just about anything the FCC will allow, and you will hear bands and things on our station that you will not hear on commercial radio. So I'm going to move on. This show in particular, the Lone Star Jukebox, we don't limit ourselves just to Texas music, but even if we did, we've got a million genres to pull from, outlaw country, Tejano, Zydeco, roots rock, conjunto, western swing, folk, Texas blues. Those are just some I wrote out. And in terms of our state's music, we just have this embarrassment of riches, in my opinion, because of our racial and ethnic and cultural diversity. Are there any particular genres like that are native to Texas that you particularly like or that interests you?
Growing up in El Paso, certainly Tejano and Ranchero music, Tigres del Norte, music that would come from, say, Chihuahua or from Mexico, but was ever present in El Paso. That's part of my memories. You mentioned outlaw country. I mean, that's my dad was into, and so that is part of who I am. But nothing was as transcendent as my first punk rock show. And El Paso, and El Paso's on I-10 just like Houston, but we're 12 hours to the west on I-10, and we are kind of like the midpoint between Houston and San Diego on I-10, and so we're so geographically and politically and in some ways culturally isolated that something really amazing grew out of that. And you had this relationship between El Paso and her sister city, Ciudad Juarez, 3 million people. And Juarezans were also isolated from their capital in Chihuahua, their national capital, Mexico City. And so something came of that, especially pre-internet, could have only come from there. There's just something so unique and so special in all of the music that came out of El Paso. You had people like Bobby Fuller and the Bobby Fuller. I'm going to get to that later. I Fought the Law, which is just, even though written by one of the Crickets, just one of my favorite songs of all time. You have At the Drive-In and Mars Volta, who in some significant way changed the course of rock and roll thereafter, and I think could only have come from El Paso. You have Khalid, who's just lighting it up all over the world right now, and never fails to mention El Paso's impact on his music and his creativity and who he is as a person. We were at a town hall in Corpus Christi, and there was a great band that opened up for us and then closed down the show, and the last song they played was 96 Tears by Question Mark and the Mysterians, also from El Paso, Texas. So just cool stuff's come out of our community, and great stuff has come out of Texas. And I'm, again, more just been more influenced by El Paso, just given that's where I spent my entire life. But you're right, there's great music all over this city.
Well, let's play a track right now. 96 Tears sounds like a good one of any. I love that song, but what's one more maybe we could play before we come back and finish the interview? Your pick.
Well, so I'm gonna get your contact information and send you one of our songs, and if it passes muster, you play that. But I Fought the Law, either the Bobby Fuller or the Clash version.
Oh my gosh, you're anticipating my questions. Okay. All right, so right now we're going to play 96 Tears and a track from Beto or I Fought the Law, depending on what we can get, and we'll be right back.
2 many teardrops for one heart to be crying. 2 many teardrops for one heart.
Okay, you're listening to the Lone Star Jukebox on 90.1 KPFT. We are back with Beto O'Rourke. And right now, I thought we might do a lightning round. And I know you've done 254 town halls at least. So are you ready, Congressman?
I'm ready. Listo.
Okay. What's your favorite Tex-Mex dish?
Green chili enchiladas.
With chicken, beef, cheese?
Cheese.
Okay.
Although I'm lactose intolerant.
Okay. Should salsa be served chilled or warm?
Warm.
Okay, interesting. What is the best song in the Marty Robbins El Paso trilogy? That's El Paso, Felina, or El Paso City?
El Paso.
Yeah, I kind of got to go with that one. What's the weirdest question you've ever been asked at a town hall?
Should the United States continue to mint the penny?
Did you have an opinion on that?
I didn't, but the guy who asked made a really great case. He says it costs us more to mint a penny than that penny is worth. Second strangest question or most unique was, should we begin to colonize other planets in space? And not joking, but like, should we get after it? Because it wasn't making a point about climate change. He was just saying, I don't know that we're going to make it here. I think we need to get after finding another place for the human race to live.
Wow. In all of your travels visiting every county in Texas, can you estimate how many armadillos you hit?
Estimate how many
armadillos you hit? What's your body count?
So we've hit 0 armadillos, but you know that there's that great Jim Hightower line. The only thing in the middle of the road are yellow lines and dead armadillos. And I have seen so many dead armadillos on the side of the road all over Texas. And we don't have armadillos in El Paso, so this is something somewhat new to me, given the mileage that we've put on over these 254 counties.
Okay. Do you have a biggest Texas political or activist hero?
Oh, well, I just mentioned Jim Hightower, whose spirit I love and whose connection with people versus corporations, I think is the model. LBJ, who we just celebrated 53rd anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. Before that, we celebrated the 54th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. He's responsible for getting Medicaid and Medicare onto the books and the law of the land. He's a real hero in the way that he wanted to connect with people, alleviate poverty, and invest in communities, especially small and rural communities, to help lift them up. So he'd certainly be a Texas political hero. But I mean, you mentioned an embarrassment of riches in music in the state. When you think about people like Ann Richards or Lloyd Benson or Ralph Yarbrough or so many great, leaders in this state, it's hard to choose, but it's a good problem for us to have.
Yeah. So the Bobby Fuller, probably the most famous musician from El Paso, do you prefer his version of I Fought the Law or the Clash version?
I prefer the Clash. And now listen, I know that this could be controversial, but one of the things that links the Clash back to El Paso, beyond the fact that they covered Bobby Fuller's classic, is Paul Simon, the bass player for the Clash, moved to El Paso as soon as the Clash broke up. Didn't end up staying there for terribly long, but I think this is one of the first places or the first place he moved to afterwards.
Okay, so speaking of controversy, you have to deal with these topics: gun control, immigration, abortion. So no more softballs. I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Who has the best barbecue in Texas?
So there's a place called Stanley's in Tyler, Texas, that we were leaving a town hall, and we were just, going to head out to the next town, maybe stop at a Whataburger. And somebody recognized me at the stoplight and he said, "Hey, roll down your window." And he said, "If you know what's good for you, you're going to go to Stanley's right now." And it was like 11 a.m. and so Stanley's was literally just opening, and there was already a line, down the block. And so we waited, ate, and it was worth it. It was awesome. Really good stuff.
Listen to our audience. Go hit Stanley's when you're next time you're in Tyler. Well, Congressman O'Rourke, thank you for calling into Lone Star Jukebox today. On behalf of myself, Will Woodward, aka Racehorse, and our host Ricky Skirdo, KPFT is 100% listener-supported, non-commercial community radio, and we know you support that, and we thank you so much. But
absolutely.
One last time, tell our audience about your two events today and the musica that they could expect to hear.
So we have a block party celebrating our campaign headquarters opening in Houston, and it is open to everyone. That's at 1 p.m. at 4112 Old Spanish Trail. And then even more fun tonight at 6 p.m. at the Last Concert Cafe is Musica con Beto. And again, everyone is welcome to join us. You can always find out more about what we're doing at betofortexas.com. And grateful for the chance to be on your show and support what you're doing. And then afterwards, if you want to share with me your email or cell, I'll send you over one of our songs from when we were out playing music 20 plus years ago, and we'll just take her from there.
All right. Well, we'll definitely do that after the interview. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman, senatorial candidate Beto O'Rourke, thank you.